A very good morning to everyone. Thanks for making out to the session. So today we will be going through a success story of the brand known as Seniority and how they are transforming the lives of senior citizens using Magento Commerce. Well, I thought of pulling off this topic to the Magento Imagine breakout session by recalling the very first conversation that we were having with this particular brand. And the crux of the conversation was problem, problem, and problem. And we love solving the e-commerce puzzles for the businesses out there. So myself, Justin Thomas, and I fuel the commerce growth for the businesses out there at Krish Technolabs. And moving further, this is what the itinerary would look like in terms of the pointers that we're going to touch base for the next 20 to 25 minutes. The consumer base, senior citizens, how this consumer group is transforming day by day. A deep dive to the inspirational story as in understanding what seniority is, what were the challenges, how they overcome, and the outcome that makes them as a successful brand out there. So yeah, a few days back, I was just browsing around the internet and I landed onto an interesting stats out there, and it was also surprising and thought of pulling that over here for us to review. And if you look into the stats, it's all about how the retail mobile conversion looked like for the current year, 2019. And the most interesting part for me was the future part. If you look into wherein the mobile sales is way behind to the desktop sales and up to the tune of 1 trillion. So it's a kind of a huge difference that we're talking about. So you're getting into the agenda that we have. The consumer base as a senior citizen. So it's a kind of a chart that where you can see the different slabs of the generations that we have highlighted over here, and it's a global stats where it states it out like 75% are the senior citizens, 75 plus people are of the age group are just a 5% out there. But when we talk about India-specific territory, India is a country of the population which holds of 1.2 billion. And out of it, it's 85 million are senior citizens. So that's a huge consumer base in terms of the segment or the generation that we're talking about. So the interesting part is like this generation getting it transformed, and a big thank you to the telecommunication company and the smartphone manufacturing companies as well, wherein they're making it very affordable and accessible to each and every people out there. And if you look into the stats, it's like 82% of people are browsing the internet daily on this particular age group. So moving further, we're looking into the inspirational success story as a brand, which we talked about Seniority. So Seniority is an India-based brand, specifically in India, they're based out in Pune, and it's a pure play brand. They started across with the vision of helping out senior citizens and making their life easier. So this Seniority has been funded by RPG Enterprise Group Company, which holds different brands, and Seat Tires is one of the brands which is under the umbrella of RPG Enterprise. Now, more specific to Seniority, so this brand established in 2016, and with this establishment, they had a kind of a roadmap there they wanted to get into and hit that milestone, where they started their journey with Magento 1 open source, which was the very first step that they took in. And they had a very good digital marketing team who could help them out with their business goals and visions altogether. So the journey that they started with Magento open source, they were able to see the volume of up to 700 orders a day. It was a good volume to stand with. But yes, there were like more problems also down the line, which we would be going through. So when we talk about problems, so I thought of highlighting a few of the problems over here. So when you look into their challenges, it was like bulky code, loosely defined business flows and workflows, not having a tight integration with their back offices altogether, and user experience. So that was very important for them, which was not been focused on the initial level. So other than that, the key showstopper that we found while during the discovery call was the performance. The interesting thing to learn from them was like while they were running across their marketing campaigns, their site used to get crashed twice or thrice in a day, and that's terrible to have for any brand out there. So with this, continuing with this solution discovery call, when we tried to understand their challenges, try to understand the brand particularly itself. So they were clueless, and for us, it was like understanding what is needed for them. And it was commerce without limits, because the vision that they had and the goal that they had set in, so they wanted to grow, and they don't want to be binded with any of the aspects out there. And Magento Commerce was the answer for the challenges that we just saw in the previous slide. So as an approach with the solution discovery phase altogether, it was very important for us to understand their consumer base. So with the initial interaction, it was just felt like, okay, we are talking about senior citizens who are hitting onto the presence and making a purchase out there. But no, it was the other aspect as well, where you can see it was a challenge to bridge a gap between senior citizens and the caregivers. So I do have a few senior citizens back at home, and as me being a caregiver, I usually look up to that level wherein to try to bridge up to the gap. So the approach that we had taken across was the mobile-first approach, wherein the brand wanted to give across an experience out there for the senior citizens, having a better wide presence out there, a better experience where they would be able to get through the categories that they are looking forward to, getting rid of hamburger menus like the hidden menus, and getting to the widget or the placements of the sites out there where they are expecting to be. So looking into the few points, how they overcome, there were many pointers out there that they overcome. Automating their RMA, putting across a dynamic shipping rule altogether, which increasing the operational efficiency. And the more important part for this particular brand, and even for me, while we were talking to this particular brand, was replacing the traditional transaction email ID with mobile number. So I looked up my senior citizens, and they don't recall any sort of, they get a hard time to recall across any of the passwords. And to be honest, me, myself, I'm not good at numbers, and I don't even recall the mobile number of my wife, and I hope she won't be listening it out. So the interesting part with the mobile number was like it was a unique ID to understand that like this is their customer base, and when this customer, they come across to the website, they put across their mobile number, and there is a one-time password that shoot across as an SMS to their mobile, and where they can get it log into the site. So this one-time password is more oftenly used in India for the banking transactions out there, so that it could be more secure and safe enough. So the second phase of how they overcome with the different things. So there were different components that made it across to overcome the challenges, and having a very tight integration with their warehouse management system, which was Vinculum, and having a real-time sync with Magento Commerce. So if you look into the outcomes, it was a mixed outcome. So there were different facets. One is the front-end, UI, UX. One is the facelift of the platform itself, so the operational efficiency can be maintained in. And also the more important thing that I particularly felt was the two aspects with this brand. That was increased conversions, which led them to increase the average order value. And the more important thing was the paid campaigns, which they used to run on Magento open source. It got more effective, more responsive while getting into Magento Commerce. So as a growth aspect, there's a few stats of the results that they were able to witness by shifting the gears to Magento Commerce. And the important part was this, in 2018, they witnessed a 542% of a progressive growth. So that's a huge growth, or I could say like a considerable growth for a brand which was established just like a few years back. So yeah, I would make across a statement out over here, like it's all within the mind. And yeah, if we don't mind certain things, there are many things for us in the day-to-day life to keep in mind. And if we look forward to skip that out of mind, then definitely it doesn't matter. So age is one of the factors as well that we can look forward to skip out of our mind. Any questions?
Sure, I'm just curious why in the upper left-hand corner you still have a hamburger menu up there, although I think in one of your bullet points there you said that you wanted to eliminate that. So
exactly.
Why is it still there?
So yeah, so the answer is the previous slide, or the first slide of the solution discovery that we got into. So it was a kind of gapping the bridge between the senior citizens and the caregivers who can be in 20s, 30s, 40s, or 50s. So the kind of an user experience, we need to match it across to both the generations out there. And that's where, like, if you look into the categories, so the categories you can see, like, it has been highlighted well clear out there, so they can hit it across over there. And the rest of the menus where they can navigate across, and having this search as a personalized search. So the search is also wherein, based on the browsing histories, the products are being recommended as well. So it makes the life easier for the senior citizens to land to the right product and check it out. So I hope I answered your question, right? Yeah. Thanks. Thank you everyone for listening me out. Thanks. Have a great day.